everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 nights of dinners. So I'm going to share 5 of my favorite WW friendly recipes, and I will make sure that I link the recipes in the description box below, as well as any modifications that I make. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first recipe I'm going to make is called chicken rollatini stuffed with zucchini and mozzarella. And it sounds very sophisticated, but trust me, it is really not that hard to make. And the recipe comes from Skinny Taste, and like I said, I will link that in the description box below. So I will show you how I make that. So for this recipe, I am going to use 5 thinly sliced chicken breasts, which comes to 1.5 pounds. And then I'm also going to use half a cup of the Hy-Vee reduced fat mozzarella cheese. And I'm also going to use 1 zucchini, which I'm going to shred in my food processor. And then I'm going to use about a tablespoon of the minced garlic. And then I'm also going to use a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. And I'm also going to use a half a cup of Italian style breadcrumbs. And I'm also going to use just a little bit of lemon juice. And then I'm going to use a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. And I also have this olive oil spray that I'm going to use in the pan when I am sauteing the garlic and the zucchini. And then of course I have some salt and pepper. And I also forgot to mention that I preheated my oven to 450. So I have my zucchini that's been washed, and I just cut it down a little bit so that it'll go through the food processor. So now that my zucchini is all shredded, I'm going to spray a pan with some olive oil cooking spray. Turn my burner on. And first of all, I'm going to add just a little bit of minced garlic. I just like to do a little bit of a spoonful like that. So I'm just going to saute the garlic for just a couple of minutes. Now I'm going to add the zucchini. And then I have my 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese that I'm going to add to the zucchini. I'm going to just put the zucchini in a bowl and let it cool off. Okay, I'm going to add some salt and pepper to the zucchini. Okay, so I have a baking dish that I'm going to put the chicken in, and I'm going to just spray it with some cooking spray. And then I'm going to add a half a cup of mozzarella cheese to the zucchini. So I'm going to take each chicken breast and I'm going to lay it out on my cutting board. And I'm going to place some of the zucchini and mozzarella mixture on the chicken breast. The recipe says about 3 tablespoons of it. I just kind of eyeball it a little bit. So I'm going to just set that there. I'm going to just go ahead and do all of them at once so that I can just evenly divide the zucchini mixture up between all 5 of them. That's good. And now I'm going to just gently roll them up. Just like that. Okay, now that I have these all rolled up, I'm going to get everything else ready to go. Okay, I have a half a cup of the Italian breadcrumbs. I think in the original recipe, she does mention to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese to this, but I like to just use the breadcrumbs. And then I'm going to mix up a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil and a little bit of lemon juice in a bowl, and that's what I'm going to use to dip the chicken in. to make the breadcrumbs stick. And to the olive oil and lemon juice mixture, I'm also going to add a little bit of pepper. Give that a quick stir. Okay, so I'm gonna start dipping the chicken in this bowl, and then I'm going to dip it in the breading, and then I will put it in the pan. So I always like to make sure one hand is wet and one hand always stays dry. So I'm just going to dip the chicken the best I can. Try to hold it together and then put it in the breadcrumbs. Okay, now that I have them all breaded, I'm going to spray them with some cooking spray. And then I'm going to put them in the oven and bake them for 30 minutes. Okay, so this is how my chicken rollatini turned out. For some reason, I don't know why, but a couple of them like opened up completely, so I'm not sure. I've never had that happen before, but I'm sure it's still good. So I have 5 of these, and these come out to be 7 smart points on the WW Green plan, and I'm sure it'll be different depending on what plan you're on. So I hope you guys try this recipe, and if you do, let me know in the comments below. And for the next recipe, I am going to make skinny sloppy joes and some homemade potato wedges. The recipe for these sloppy joes is from the Pound Dropper, so I will link that down below. So I'll show you how I make them. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the potato wedges because I need to wash the potatoes and cut them in wedges, and then I have to soak them in a bowl of hot water for 30 minutes. So then I'm going to season them and cook them in my air fryer. So I have 24 ounces of russet potatoes, and this ended up being about 3 potatoes. And this recipe, I'm gonna just divide it up into 3 equal servings. So it's basically 1 potato per serving, which ends up being 5 smart points. Because I'm not gonna add anything to the potatoes that is points. I'm gonna just use this olive oil cooking spray and then some seasonings. So first of all, I'm going to wash the potatoes, and then I'm going to cut them into wedges. Okay, so I have my 3 potatoes washed, and I have a bowl of hot water that I'm gonna put them in. So I'm going to just start cutting them into wedges. So this is what they look like. So I'm going to just let the potatoes soak in the hot water for 30 minutes, and then I will be back to season them and cook them. Okay, so the potato wedges are done soaking. I just emptied out the water and dried them off the best I could. So now I'm going to spray some olive oil spray on them. Just like that, and then I'm going to add some seasonings. I'm going to add some salt, some pepper, and then I have some onion powder, and then I have some garlic powder, and then I also have some paprika. So I'm going to just give it a little bit of a stir. Then I'm going to add a little bit more of the olive oil spray. And then I'm going to add some more of the seasonings. Then I'm going to just stir it a little bit more, just to make sure that all of the potato wedges are coated with seasoning. And now I'm going to cook the potato wedges in my air fryer. So I'm going to just, and if you don't have an air fryer, you can definitely bake these in the oven. So I have the wedges in the basket. I'm gonna just put them in. And I'm going to set it for probably about 15 minutes at 400 degrees. And I'll just kind of check them throughout and see how they're doing. Okay, and to make the skinny sloppy joes, I'm going to use 1.5 pounds of the 96% ground beef. And I'm also going to use a half a teaspoon of the dry mustard. And then I'm also going to use a teaspoon of chili powder and some salt and pepper. And then I also have a tablespoon of minced garlic, half of an onion chopped up, and then I also have a green pepper. In the recipe, she says you can use either a green pepper or celery, so I chose to use a green pepper. So I'm also going to use a tablespoon of this Lakanto monk fruit sweetener. This is the golden kind. It's similar to brown sugar, but it is 0 calories. And I believe I got this from Amazon. And then I also have a half a cup of water. And then I have a cup of the Heinz no sugar added ketchup. And then I'm also going to use a half a tablespoon of this. And then for the buns, I have these Sara Lee Delightful 80 calorie wheat buns. So this recipe makes a total of 8 sandwiches. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the ground beef in the skillet and get that cooking, and then I'm gonna drain it and then add the rest of the ingredients. Okay, now I have drained the hamburger, and now I'm going to add the garlic and the onion and the green pepper. And I'm gonna just let this cook for a couple of minutes to let the veggies get softened. Okay, now I'm going to add the brown sugar substitute and the water. Then I'm going to add the ketchup. Whoa. Now I'm going to add the ground mustard. And the chili powder. I'm going to give this a good stir. And then I'm going to just let it simmer for about 15 minutes. Okay, it is looking really, really good and smelling delicious. I'm gonna add some salt and pepper. Okay, now I'm going to add a half a tablespoon of this, and then I'm gonna let it simmer just for a few more minutes, and then we are ready to eat. And while the sloppy joes are finishing up, I'm going to check on the potato wedges. I ended up doing it for a total of 20 minutes, and they look perfect. So I'm gonna divide it up into 3 equal servings. So I'm going to weigh out all of these wedges and divide it up by 3. And that'll tell me how much each serving of potato wedges weighs. So I have my scale. I'm going to set it to ounces. Make sure it is set to 0. Okay, so it looks like it came out to be 15 ounces, or 15.19 ounces. So if I divide that up into 3, then that's approximately 5 ounces per serving. So then I'm going to just set it to 0 and put it in until there's 5 ounces. It's a little over 5 ounces, so that is 1 serving, which is 5 Smart Points. Okay, and the sloppy joes are done, so I'm going to weigh this out on my kitchen scale and divide it up into 8 equal servings. So then I will know exactly how much each serving weighs. So I have my scale and I have my bowl on it and set it to 0. Okay, so it looks like the whole thing weighs about 29 ounces. So I'm going to divide that up into 8 equal servings, which will make it 3.62 ounces per serving. So I'm going to set it to 0. So this is 1 serving, and I'm going to put this on my bun, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all ready to go. Okay, so this is the sloppy joe and the potato wedges. So with the bun, the sloppy joe is 5 smart points on the WW green pan, and the potato wedges are 5 smart points. So this whole meal is a total of 10 smart points on the green plan. I hope you guys like this recipe, and if you try it, let me know in the comments. And the next meal I'm going to make is called white chicken enchiladas, and this recipe is from the Pound Dropper. I will link the recipe in the description box below. And normally when I do make these, sometimes we have corn as a side, but tonight we're just going to have just the enchiladas because we're gonna have 2 each. So that's quite a big serving. So we're just going to have enchiladas tonight, and I will show you how I make them. So first of all, I just wanna mention that I do make a few modifications from the original recipe from the Pound Dropper. So when I post the link down below, I will also post my modifications. In her recipe, she uses corn tortillas, and I like to use these ole tortillas. And also her recipe makes 12 enchiladas, and I'm gonna cut that in half and just make 6 enchiladas. So I have my baking dish, and I'm going to use some cooking spray to spray that, and I also have my oven set to 350, and I'm also going to use 6 of these ole tortillas, and I have 11 ounces of boneless, skinless chicken breast. I cooked this in my Instant Pot, and then I shredded it and weighed out 11 ounces. I believe in her recipe she used canned chicken, but you can use whichever. And I also have 4 ounces of the Philadelphia 1/3 less fat cream cheese. I like to set this in the microwave for about 20 seconds just to soften it a little bit. And then I also have 12 ounces of the Old El Paso green enchilada sauce. And then I also have 1 ounce of the Trader Joe's light shredded Mexican cheese. And then I also have a can of diced green chilies. So this recipe is really, really simple. You basically preheat the oven, and then you mix all of the chicken stuff together, put them in the tortillas and put them in the pan, and pour the enchilada sauce over it and cheese, and then bake it. So it's really, really simple. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix the cream cheese and the green chilies with the chicken, and then put them in the tortillas. I'm gonna add the green chilies. So I'm going to just mix this up. And I also like to put a little bit of the green enchilada sauce in the pan on the bottom. I'm gonna just take a little bit of the green enchilada sauce and put it in the pan. There we go. And then I'm gonna just take 6 enchiladas and fill them with the chicken mixture. So I just put that on there, and then I just roll it up. And then I'm going to place it seam side down in the pan. So I have my enchiladas all ready, and now I'm going to just pour the enchilada sauce over them. And now I'm going to just sprinkle the cheese on top. And I personally like to cover mine with foil. So I'm going to just cover it with a little bit of foil. And then I'm going to put it in my 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. Okay, now the enchiladas are done. I did take the foil off for the last 5 minutes. So with my modifications, each one comes out to 6 smart points or 11 smart points for 2. I hope you guys like this recipe, and if you try it, let me know in the comments below. And the next dinner that I'm going to make is called Beefy American Goulash, and the recipe is from Emily Bites. I will link the recipe in the description box below, but it is a really simple recipe and my whole family loves it, so we like to make this a lot. So I'll show you how I make it. To make the beefy goulash, I'm going to use 2 pounds of 96% ground beef. I also have some salt and pepper and some paprika. And I'm also going to cut up 2 onions. And I'm also going to use 12 ounces of this Barilla whole grain elbow pasta. And then I have 2 cans of tomato sauce. And then I also have 2 cans of petite diced tomatoes. And then I have some soy sauce and some Italian seasoning and some minced garlic. And then I'm also going to add 3 cups of water. So basically for this recipe, you only need to count the ground beef and the pasta because everything else is 0 points. This is going to make 8 servings, and with the ingredients that I have, it comes out to be 6 smart points per serving. So first of all, I'm going to brown the ground beef and drain it, and then I will add the rest of the stuff. About ready to serve it, I think. Okay, now that the ground beef is cooked and drained, I'm going to add the onions and the garlic and let that cook for a little bit. Just let that cook for a couple of minutes, and then I'll add the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to start adding the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to start with the water. And I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. And then I'm going to add the diced tomatoes, and I just dumped the whole can in there. Then I'm going to add the tomato sauce. And then I'm going to add some salt and pepper. And then I'm going to add some paprika. As you can see, I don't usually measure out a lot of my seasonings. I just kind of sprinkle on whatever I want. And then I'm going to add some Italian seasoning. And this one I like to put a lot in there, so I'm just going to dump a bunch. Might as well just dump the rest. And then finally I'm going to add the pasta. Give it a stir. Okay, so all the ingredients are in there. The only thing that I do leave out from the recipe is bay leaves. And if you've ever cooked with bay leaves and had to fish them out of a pot, you will understand why I choose to leave them out. Also, one thing is that in the recipe, it does mention to let the sauce and stuff come to a boil before you add the pasta, but I honestly don't, so I don't always follow directions very well. And also you want to make sure you have a large pot for this, because as you can see, it's almost to the top of mine. So you probably want to use a bigger pot than I do. So I'm just going to let this cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. I just stir it every once in a while and just kind of check it. And then kind of once the pasta is cooked, then it's pretty much ready. So I will just keep an eye on it. So the goulash is done, and this whole recipe makes 8 servings. It is 6 smart points for each serving. So I'm gonna weigh out the entire thing of goulash in a bowl on my kitchen scale so that I can see how much the entire thing weighs, and then divided it into 8 servings. So then I'll know how much each serving weighs. All right, so I have my bowl on my scale, and I have it set to 0, and it's set to ounces. I'm going to just carefully dump it into the bowl. All right, so it weighs 118 ounces. So I'm gonna divide that into 8 equal servings. So each serving is going to weigh 14.75 ounces. Okay, so I have my bowl, I'm gonna set it to 0. And then I'm going to just scoop out 14.75 ounces. It makes a really big serving. I think it's about 2 cups, so it's a really large serving. So this is 1 serving of the goulash. Like I said, it is a large serving, and it is 6 smart points. I hope you guys like this recipe, and if you try it, let me know in the comments below. And the last dinner that I'm going to make is called stuffed pepper casserole. I have made this for a few years now, and it's really, really good. I personally love stuffed peppers, but I hate the task of having to stuff them. And I like this idea of just being able to throw everything together in a casserole dish and baking it, and it still tastes like stuffed peppers. So I will link the recipe in the description box below, and I will show you how I make it. So these are the ingredients that I use to make the stuffed pepper casserole. I have some salt and pepper. And then I also have 1 pound of the 96% ground beef. And I'm also going to use ½ a cup of this brown rice. And then I'm also going to use some spinach. And I'm also going to use 3 teaspoons of this. And I'm gonna use a can of petite diced tomatoes. And then I'm also going to use a spoonful of the minced garlic. And then I have 8 ounces of tomato sauce. And then I have some green peppers. The recipe calls for 2 large green peppers cut up, and I just used 3 of them because that's what I had. And you can cut them as big or small as you want them. I cut them about maybe the size of 1 inch or so. And then I also have some diced onion. And then I'm also going to use a ½ a cup of beef broth. And then 1 cup of the reduced fat mozzarella cheese from Hy-Vee. This recipe is really super easy to make. Basically all I have to do is brown the ground beef and drain it, and then throw everything together in a casserole dish and bake it. First of all, I'm going to just brown the 1 pound of ground beef in my skillet, and then I will drain it and add the rest of the ingredients. So the ground beef is now cooked and drained. And so I'm going to spray my pan with some cooking spray. And then I'm going to add all the ingredients to the pan. Okay, well I totally forgot to add the garlic to the ground beef while I was cooking, so I'm just gonna go ahead and add it now. I'm gonna add the beef broth, the onions, the diced tomatoes, the tomato sauce, the rice. Then I'm going to add 3 teaspoons of this. Then I'm going to add the green peppers. Then I'm going to add the spinach, and I like to just take it in my hands and just rip it up. And I don't really have a specific amount that I put in. I just like to just put whatever I want. Then I'm going to sprinkle on some salt and pepper. And then I'm going to stir it up really good. I don't add the mozzarella cheese until this is almost done in the oven. So I'm going to cover it with foil and place it in the oven at 350 degrees for 75 minutes. Okay, now the stuffed pepper casserole is done, and I'm going to add the mozzarella cheese. And now I'm going to put it back in the oven just like this for 5 more minutes. Okay, so now it is done. And so I'm going to just cut this into 6 equal servings. I don't really weigh it out, but I just try to cut it as equal as I can. So each serving comes out to be 5 smart points. And then tonight I'm just gonna serve it with some canned green beans, but you can definitely serve this with any other type of vegetable or a salad. I hope you guys like this recipe, and if you try it, let me know in the comments. So that is the end of my 5 nights of dinners video. I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you're not already. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.